Chant the name of the Lord and His glories unceasingly, that the mirror of the heart may be wiped clean and quench that mighty forest fire, worldly lust raging furiously within. O name, stream down in moonlight on the lotus heart, opening its cup to knowledge of thyself. O self, drown deep in the waves of His bliss, chanting His name continually, tasting His nectar at every step, bathing in His name, that bath for weary souls. Various are thy names, O Lord, and in each and every name thy power resides. No times are set, no rites are needful for chanting of thy name. How vast is thy mercy! How huge then is my wretchedness, who find in this empty life and heart no devotion to thy name. O my mind, be humbler than a blade of grass. Be patient and forbearing like a tree. Take no honor to thyself. Give honor to all. Chant unceasingly the name of the Lord. O Lord and soul of the universe, mine is no prayer for wealth or retinue, the playthings of lust or the toys of fame. As many times as I may be reborn, grant me, O Lord, a steadfast love for thee. A drowning person in this world's fearful ocean is me, thy servant, O sweet one. In thy mercy, consider me as dust beneath thy feet. Ah, how I long for the day when an instant's separation from thee, O Lord, will be as 1,000 years, when my heart burns away with its desires, and the world without thee is a heartless void. Prostrate at thy feet, let me be, in unwavering devotion, neither imploring the embrace of thy arms, nor bewailing the withdrawal of thy presence. Though it tears my soul asunder, O thou who stealest the hearts of thy devotees, do with me what thou wilt, for thou art my heart's beloved, thou and thou alone. This prayer is from Chaitanya's Shikshashtakam, 8 instructions. It's one of the few hymns that have survived. And in many of our centers, this prayer has been used as a standard prayer every morning after Vespers, morning Vespers. Sri Chaitanya, His Life and Teachings. On the 14th, of course, we had 14th, we had the festival of Dol Yatra. That is Sri Chaitanya's birthday. It's also celebrated as a festival of colors. And powder is showered on all suspecting and unsuspecting people. And every incarnation in the past is validated by the subsequent incarnations. And so we shall see Sri Chaitanya's life through the lens of Sri Ramakrishna, because that gives authentication. When we were growing up, there are so many saints we heard. Chaitanya was one of them. It wasn't so grand in our eyes. There were so many others also. And many people had that idea. Chaitanya, who's Chaitanya, etc. Sri Ramakrishna also in his gospel, in his great master, divine play of Sri Ramakrishna, he says that there were devotees who used to come and ask him, is Chaitanya the incarnation? And Sri Ramakrishna saying, even I used to think formally that way. He wasn't sure initially. So he had gone with Mathur Babu to Navadvip. That's a place where Chaitanya was born. It's on the banks of the Ganges. And he says, wherever I went, I never saw any spirituality there. If he was an incarnation, there would be traces of it. Not physical traces, spiritual traces. So he says, I went to all these places and I saw the wooden statues of Chaitanya and his companion, that is, they were called brothers rather, Nityananda. They were two great, you can say, personages. So with their hands upraised, Chaitanya, you'll get always those pictures with the hands upraised. And they're saying, I felt so disillusioned looking at them. I never felt anything there. Saying, I went to the various places associated, the allegedly associated with, and I felt no spirituality. Then he says, he was leaving that place, is that I was about to step into the boat for my return trip when I saw a wonderful vision. Two beautiful boys of tender age. I never saw such beauty. They had the complexion of molten gold, each having a halo of light round his head. Raising their hands and looking at me, they were running towards me through the sky. And I cried out immediately, there they come, there they come. Scarcely had I uttered these words before they came and entered into my body, and I fell down unconscious. I would have fallen in the river had Hriday not held me. He's saying, I was shown then many other convincing things that he really was an incarnation. Now, the reason why he never saw any signs of spirituality in the places associated with him was because, he's saying, the original Ganges had changed its course, and which it does. And the actual place of his birth was now under the Ganges. So that's why he saw those two flying Chaitanya and Nityananda come to the air. So that's how he got. Great incarnations come whenever there is a crisis in society, mainly a spiritual crisis. The spiritual crisis can be taken the form of even sociological, you can say, upheavals. And when Sri Ramakrishna had come, people are just having, they were religious, but it had become into a kind of an empty shell. People were praying, etc., but not giving their very heart into that. So when religion starts becoming like this empty. It becomes kind of hypocritical. And when there are external pressures in society that are also trying to quash the religious, you can say, attitudes of the people, then incarnation comes. Chaitanya's time also, you find that there was tremendous pressure on society, and the people were restless. Religion was in the hands of the elite, and they made a business out of it with the various priests, etc. And the masses were just led by their false promises, etc. So they had to be brought in. And so Chaitanya started preaching to the masses. And first thing he did was get them all together. And what gets them together? Not politics, but spirituality. At least in India. So he began starting to preach the loud chanting and singing of the name of God. Okay. So he popularized and he removed of all distinctions. Everyone is welcome. So people. Now these are called the great bhakti movements. Why bhakti movements? They kind of churned society. You know, we have so many social philosophers and reformers, etc., that they come and they try to do something. In India, Swami Vivekananda says, our heroes were always spiritual. So history is multi-layered, and deep down, it's a spiritual history that needs to be written anew. So these sages and saints and incarnations come and they rewrite, they give an impetus to society. And so society changes. The vast mass of energy that was kind of being dissipated amongst the masses is now getting converged into a center. So in those days, Bengal, especially that whole eastern part of India then, was under the Mughal rule. Especially the Afghan, I think it was the Afghan dynasty that was ruling that part. And people were oppressed and they had to come back. So Chaitanya, apart from his great bhakti movements, etc., he was an intellectual, a scholar. But very few of his works have survived. So he proposed a philosophy of, as it's called, Achintya Bheda Bheda, inconceivable difference in non-difference. You can understand how these. So Advaita, they're saying, they say it's all one. And there is no variety. And the later authors made him as that he railed against Advaita Vedanta. So he brought out this philosophy standing between Advaita, non-dualism, and qualified non-dualism. And that's what he said, Achintya. Achintya is inconceivable, unthinkable. You cannot think. Bhed, abhed. Difference in non-difference. How does the one appear like this? How does God appear like this? So it is beyond the ken of human understanding. That's the reason. And they say that he had written a commentary on the Brahma Sutras, etc., but he discarded it. He did have some very great scholars who were his disciples. And they later formulated this philosophy, Achintya. And especially Jiva, Sanatana, and Rupa Goswamis. They were the Goswamis from Vrindavan. Vrindavan was the center of the Krishna movement. So these gave a philosophical structure to his philosophy. Chaitanya was born, as we know, as in Bengal. He was born as Vishwambara Mishra. And the very, can say, strange coincidence, that is, he had an elder brother, and Vishwarupa, his name was. And he, when he had grown up, he had left home and become a monk. So his name was Shankararanya. Chaitanya's father was Jagannath and his mother's name was Sachi Devi. And they were originally from Sylhet, that is a place now which is in Bangladesh. So in the old ruins of their ancestral homes is still there. That's what they say. And so they had moved out here and on the banks of the Ganges, you see, in Navadvip. As a child, he was just full of energy. And I mean, he had a strange habit of pushing and pulling at people. And people used to get sometimes surprised. A very beautiful looking child and very aggressive also. And there was one incident where a guest has come and to their house, and he had closed his eyes and he was offering food to the Lord. That's the puja. And Chaitanya goes and grabs that food and eats. And that guest, he was a great Pandit, he looked and he immediately recognized him as an incarnation, because nobody can just grab that food which a sacramental food is offering except the one to whom it is offered. So, and he was the first to recognize that this is a special manifestation of the divine, of Vishnu. And again, on the banks of the Ganges in those days, people used to meditate and pray and then again do those devotions. And he used to go and trouble them and said, make an you can say noise and disturb their devotions. And also grab some of that prasad that they have offered and he said, run away. So people used to say, the men used to scold him. Evil will befall you. And he used to laugh and laugh. And the women, they knew him. So he used to run away and said, don't run away. And they used to chant the name of God, and that used to bring him back. So this was his childhood. He, as usual, since he was born to parents who were scholars, I mean, that whole community was devoted their time and life to scholarship. He also started becoming a great scholar. And even as a young child, he defeated many great scholars in prosody, in poetry, in composing verses, in Sanskrit. And there was one incident where there was a Sanskrit scholar who had come from the Nimbarka school. There was a separate school of Vaishnavism. So he recited 100 verses. And this boy listened quietly to all of them. And then he started picking up the mistakes in some of the verses. He heard it, memorized it, and then he was telling you, this is the right way. And that scholar was kind of dumbfounded. Imagine this boy telling you that. So he was studying, and in those days, they used to get married early. So he married, his wife was Lakshmi Priya. But when he had gone to what is now Bangladesh to study further the tenets of the scriptures, especially Vaishnavism, his wife had died. So he had remarried a second time, and his wife was Vishnu Priya. She was daughter of Pandit Sanatan Mishra. So Chaitanya was also called Nimai because he was born under a neem tree, that's a margosa tree. So he was called Nimai. And in the school he was called Nimai Pandit, even though he was young, Nimai Pandit. He was also called Gauranga, that is the fair-limbed, or Gaur, fair. And his color was like molten gold. That's what. He was, as I say, born on this Dol Purnima, that is the full moon. That it came that time on February 16, 1486. That was 1486. So for a long time, he practiced this, and it is usual for people to go to Gaya when their parents or somebody of their fathers or the parents, the grandparents die, to offer the final, you can say, rituals out there. That's about 1,000 miles from where they were living. So his father had died when he was still a student, and so he had gone to Gaya, that is now in the state of Bihar. By this time, he was already established as a scholar, and he had opened his own school. In those days, it was called a toll. There are still some of these old Sanskrit schools. And if you know, Sri Ramakrishna's brother also, Ram Kumar, he also had opened a Sanskrit school in Calcutta when he had come from Kamarpukur. And Sri Ramakrishna, that place is still there. The school does not exist. The place is still there. So Sri Ramakrishna was asked to come to Calcutta so that would free his brother from other duties. He could concentrate on teaching. So he had gone to Gaya, and he met a monk. He was Ishwara Puri. And he was so impressed by that monk. So we also have the Puri branch. Swamiji says, the Puris have got a strange, you can say, habit of initiating great movements. Because Sri Ramakrishna's guru also was Totapuri, the Puri branch. So he had initiated him in the Krishna mantra. And though he had that devotion, etc., but it was tempered with his intellectuality. That there was no Pandit who could debate with him on the scriptures. But this initiation revolutionized his mind. He was constantly taking the name of Krishna over and over and again. So, and this is what happens when the field is ready, the seed comes, and there's a tremendous kind of transformation. You don't stay the same person anymore. The mantra changes everything. And so he returned. He abandoned all his scholarly pursuits, and day and night he was just doing japa. So he's speaking, hearing, singing, the Krishna name. And he's constantly weeping and weeping with that upsurge of the spiritual emotions. So his mother is weeping. My eldest son, he went away as a monk. I think this fellow also is going to renounce the world. And he did broach the topic. She's saying, no, nothing. My one son has left. I cannot see another one leave. His young wife also is there, and she also was, towards the end, we hear that she used to eat only the food that she had counted. And the counting was a strange way. For every 108 beads she rolled, she should take one rice grain from one heap and place it separately. And whole day she used to do the japa and she collect that rice and that grains, and that she used to cook and she used to eat and she used to sustain herself with that. That austere she was. So his wife is there, his mother is there, and so when finally saying, I want to become a monk, his mother just faints and falls down. You know, in Girish Ghosh had written the life of Chaitanya, and he had dramatized it. And he had actors play the various parts. And Sri Ramakrishna had gone to see that. And later when he was asked, how did you find the acting? Oh, so real, as if the whole thing was actually happening there. His life was enacted. So here we had, and it had become very popular, especially when Sri Ramakrishna was there in Dakshineshwar. This Girish Ghosh was a very famous playwright, and many other things also. It had changed society, and people of all, mainly the Vaishnavas, they used to laud him as something big, great, and this and that. And Girish Ghosh was a kind of a maverick. So all the leaders of these Vaishnavas, religious leaders, they used to come and praise him. So one day he decided to teach them a lesson. They entered in the house, and then he had kept a bottle, I think glass of liquor and some meat dishes. And they saw that and were horrified, and they stopped bothering him. So Sri Ramakrishna says that I wanted to see these great movements that he had initiated, how people were kind of seized with that, you can say, fervor of spiritual and religious, you can say, energy. And so when he had gone to his native place, Kamarpukur, he prayed, I wanted to see this. And he's saying, for 7 days, there was such a mass of gathering, and people were singing and playing cymbals and playing the drums. And there was a non-stop singing and dancing for 7 whole days. He says, a crowd gathered. They even climbed the trees and walls and stayed with me day and night, because they thought that he, like in his frenzy of dancing, was like Chaitanya. And Sri Ramakrishna also had a vision of Chaitanya there, in a place called Sham Bazaar, which is near Kamarpukur. So for 7 days, I had no privacy whatsoever. And so he got this idea of what it was like in those days when Chaitanya and his companion Nityananda, they used to go around the streets of those cities and start singing and dancing. It was like a kind of frenzy. You see in the life of Sri Ramakrishna, if you read the gospel, Sri Ramakrishna, suddenly somebody has started singing and he gets up and starts dancing. And his dance was so beautiful. It's not contrived. It was not kind of thought out. So it was natural. It was outflowing of his great bliss of bhava that he was experiencing inside. So he was seen as, the people used to say, oh, there's a person who dies and revives again, over and over again. Sri Ramakrishna used to go in the state of ecstasy and then come down again from the ecstasy and then begin dancing. And people from all over had come and they were witnessing this 7 days of festivities. That was the time when Sri Ramakrishna understood what it was like in the days when Chaitanya was singing and dancing in the streets. In fact, the rulers then, they were frightened of this guy will start some revolution here. And so they had banned these Nawabs that they are called, the local kings from the Afghan dynasty. They had banned this congregational singing and dancing. And Chaitanya had converged to his place, to his house, his palace, with a huge crowd of people. And then this guy got frightened. So, no, okay, fine. You go about your singing and dancing. So Sri Ramakrishna says, we talk glibly of prema, that is a higher state of spiritual ecstasy. It's not given to everybody to experience that. Saying Chaitanya is to experience it. It is a state of Mahabhava and Prema. So Bhakti, Nishtha, that steadfastness develops into Bhakti, Bhakti into Bhava. Sri Ramakrishna says, we generally will come up to, most aspirants can come up to the state of Bhava, not after that. The body is not ready for those high spiritual emotions to come in. The only incarnations can experience Mahabhava and Prema. Prema is love, translated love. Sri Ramakrishna says, Prema, that love, is like a rope that you can tie God. And you can make that God do what you want. But that's experienced only by these special people. So he's saying, what happens? You forget the world. You don't see the world as it is. You forget your own body. And he gives 3 states where Chaitanya used to experience. His whole life was like that. Saying, in the inmost state, he would remain in samadhi, unconscious of the external world. In the semi-conscious state, he would only dance. And in the conscious state, he chanted the name of God. So his mind used to go through these 3 stages, where he was conscious of the external world, not like us. This world is solid and it has color and all. No, that's not the consciousness of these people, of the external world. It is completely different. First, it appears insipid, dreamlike. So their awareness of the external world is like this. So in that state, he used to chant. And when that state used to deepen, his consciousness of the external world has kind of gone away. It's just a kind of a hazy apprehension of something outside. He used to dance. So in that state, he could not sing or chant. So he used to dance. And this used to happen with Sri Ramakrishna also. So in describing Chaitanya's states of mind, we can get an insight into Sri Ramakrishna's state of mind. And then when the inmost self, that the mind used to go very deep inside, he said that he would remain in samadhi, jada samadhi. He used to become still. And we see all this, Sri Ramakrishna used to dance and suddenly become still. And then again he used to revive a bit and then again begin dancing. So these states are experienced by incarnations. Whether you're Buddha or Christ or whatever, all of them will experience these three states. So he says, it agrees with the Advaita Vedanta's explanation of the 5 sheaths of the body. And Sri Ramakrishna says, the physical body corresponds to the Annamaya and Pranamaya, the first 2 sheaths. And the subtle body to the the third and fourth. And the causal body to that bliss sheath, Anandamaya. His mind used to go to that great cause, beyond all the 5 sheaths. And this is what is called Nirvikalpa Samadhi or Jada Samadhi. Saying generally the body does not last after the attainment of this Nirvikalpa or Jada Samadhi. Then what happens? Say, Chaitanya kept the ego of devotion. Ego is not the ego that we know. A kind of a slight trace of feeling of I that comes. And it is described as, Sri Ramakrishna describes it, like a stick that's thrown on water. It apparently divides the water into this, the left and the right side. So Chaitanya's ego and all, even Sri Ramakrishna's in that case, is like apparent. The ego apparently divides the undivisible one into something like. So Shankaracharya kept the ego of knowledge, Chaitanya kept the ego of devotion. The feeling of identity that, yeah, this is me. And what happened was, it is through this that he could preach. Why? He's saying out of compassion. They are not so selfish as to be satisfied with their own illumination. These people, they go out and preach so that they can liberate souls. This is what he's saying. So his teachings, so much for his life, his teachings, the name of God has great sanctity. As we read, that chant the name of the Lord and His glories unceasingly. That his teaching, his poem is nothing but his life. So that mirror of the heart may be wiped clean. That purification of the heart. And whence that come? And quench that mighty forest fire, worldly lust that rages. So the mind is purified. So this he gave great, saying you don't have to do anything but just chant the name. And so he had given that Maha Mantra, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. This, he called it the great mantra. And you don't need initiation. Anybody can chant it. He opened, as I said, he opened the doors to everybody. So you can chant it, and it has to be chanted loudly and sung in a divine, you can say, inebriation. And it can be made a silent repetition also. So in this age, they say that's a very powerful mantra. So it's called, that's why it's called the great mantra. He also says, the name of God is so powerful. Suppose a seed falls on the cornice of a building, and after years, that building, that cornice crumbles, and falls down, that seed which lay dormant for so many years will sprout again. So the name of God will inevitably grant you the results, even though it has been dormant. And most of us, we keep it dormant for the part of the day. Like, the idea is to constantly repeat. So he's saying there's a great sanctity in the name of God. It gives you everything. So he also, one of his very famous teachings are for everybody, saying kindness to all beings. Jiver doya is the service to the religious people, especially Vaishnavas, Vaishnav puja, and Nam japa. So chanting of the name. So these three things he advised everybody. Show compassion, show kindness to all living beings. And that's why they insist on staying strict vegetarians. And they will hold on to that without any kind of compromise. So kindness to all living beings, service of the religious people, that is Vaishnavas, and chanting of their name. And that's why you will find them always with the beads around in the bags, in the small bag, and doing all this. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, these guys, some of these guys, they go to the market and they don't, you are doing japa, you cannot speak. They used to point out the vegetables that you want. That was hypocrisy. That's So we remember one time Sri Ramakrishna was in a state of ecstasy, and he says, he repeated this is Chaitanya's, this threefold teachings. And suddenly Sri Ramakrishna says, compassion to living being? Compassion? Who are you, you worm? Not compassion, but served them as living gods. And Swami Vivekananda was present there. You're the young student. He leaves that room out and saying, today I have learned a great, you can say, teaching. If it is God's will, I will preach this to the world. And he did. And that was Vedanta. That is, everyone are living embodiments of that divinity. You don't have to show compassion. Go and serve them. So he brought out this doctrine of Narayana Seva, that is, worshipping Narayan through this thing. So we have, you can see the connection between all these things. He was, of course, Swamiji did a little tweaking here and there. He was 24 when he took up monasticism, but he had made a promise to his mother. His mother had insisted, at least don't go too far away, so I can meet you if you're nearby. So he had gone to Puri. Puri is a place on the banks of, not banks, on the seashore. It's one of the most sacred spaces in India. It's a huge pilgrim site now. I remember when I had gone there, and so there's an, I don't know, it's a granite pillar or iron pillar. I'm not sure. It was highly polished. It's called a Garuda Stamba. So it's there in every temple. So on that, people, they touch that because the Chaitanya used to stand there, lean against that pillar and see the deity Jagannath, Balabhadra and Subhadra. And his body used to, in that state of bhava, mahabhava, it used to be burning hot. And there are fingerprints on that granite or iron pillar. I don't know. I should have done some research on that. So it is today also everybody will go and touch that pillar, lean against that pillar and touch those fingerprints of his. And there are big indentations. Saying, how did that kind of heat in the body melt that hard substance? Amazing. So he used to stand there and he used to watch and, used to see. Sri Ramakrishna is saying, I won't go to Puri. If I go, this body will not last. Because the upsurge of spiritual emotions will be so much that his body will not take it. It will go off. And there's another place. He said, I will not go to Gaya also because that's a place where his father had gone and he had a vision of God saying that I'm going to be born as yours. So if I go there, I'll remember all that. So my body will not. So Sri Ramakrishna was afraid of going to these two places, Gaya and Puri. So for 20 years, to the remainder of his life, he stayed in Puri. Now, and usually he converted, brought people all towards the Krishna Bhakti. But there's where did he learn it? Yeah, he learned it from Ishwar Puri and he was already imbued with that. But the doctrine of Bhakti, it says what he learned it when he had gone to South India. He was one of the first saints. He went and toured South India. And one time, I don't know which city it is, so he goes and there's a Pandit who's teaching the Gita. And there's one amongst the audience, he's weeping. And Chaitanya, he was very impressed. So, do you understand what is being taught? So, not a word of it. So, why are you weeping? But I don't know. I can see Krishna sitting on the standing on the chariot with Arjuna. I look at them and I weep. So that guy was the most spiritual of all of them. The others were just hearing when this guy was actually seeing. Same thing had happened with Josephine MacLeod. When Swamiji was giving the discourse in the Gita here in the US, she was seeing Krishna saying those words to Arjuna. So it is possible, it has been seen, it has been done before. One thing Sri Ramakrishna says, a Brahmin without his love for God is no longer a Brahmin. And a pariah with the love for God is no longer pariah. Through bhakti, people become pure and elevated. So like I said, he brought in the masses. You know, in India in those days, those strict divisions between people, you are only supposed to do this and not this. So he had broken down all the barriers. So this is one of the reasons why they say that these great bhakti movements, also in North India, Nanak and Dadu and Ramananda and all, they started, Tulsidas, they started these bhakti movements to pull in people inside and to break down barriers, social barriers. So Sri Ramakrishna is saying that though only his one aspect, the bhakti aspect, has been stressed, he was the harmonization of both the absolute God as well as the relative, the devotional aspect. Sri Ramakrishna says he was ideal of Purusha and Prakriti. In one place, in a state of ecstasy, he hears the Divine Mother say, Chaitanya worshipped Shakti. Of course, now we have that authentication, but nowhere has it been mentioned that he worshipped Shakti. That is the Divine Mother. But we can never say. Now, one time, M is telling Sri Ramakrishna, I feel that Christ Chaitanya and you, all three are one and the same. It is the same person that has become all three. Now, and the master smile is saying, yes, yes, it's one. It is indeed one. Don't you see it is He, that is God alone, who dwells here in this way? As he said, Sri Ramakrishna pointed to his body like this. So M, you see, M was not an ordinary, you can say, human being also. One time at Dakshineshwar, when they were, Swamiji, Sri Ramakrishna wanted to see another mass movement of devotion in the Panchavati in Dakshineshwar. He saw Chaitanya and Nityananda, they're dancing. He's saying, I saw them with my own, these eyes. And he recognized M and Balram Basu in that crowd. And that's how he knew that M and Balram Basu were the companions of Chaitanya in their previous incarnation. So here we have a kind of a continuity. So M was not like I said, he was not an ordinary kind of soul. So he intuited this Chaitanya has come again, looks like. And in Sri Ramakrishna's room also hung a picture of Chaitanya and Nityananda, these two, the great souls. And he used to salute them. Swamiji, towards the end, he says, Sri Ramakrishna has passed away. And Swamiji is telling M, times without number, the Master said to me, in me alone are embodied Advaita, Chaitanya, and Nityananda. I am all these three. Now, from one level, you can say, what is Advaita? Now, Advaita is a philosophy and doctrine also of non-dualism. So he's saying, yeah. What is Chaitanya? Sri Ramakrishna says Chaitanya means undivided consciousness. Chaitanya. That's why Sri Ramakrishna had blessed everybody. He said, Tumhare Chaitanya hok. May your consciousness, may your undivided consciousness be awakened. Chaitanya. And Nityananda is a quality of Brahman, the bliss, the eternal bliss of Brahman. So Sri Ramakrishna is Advaita, oneness. He is also undivided consciousness, and he is also eternal bliss. It can also mean Advaita was one of the later contemporaries of Chaitanya who carried forward Chaitanya's movement. He was called Advaita Acharya. And in Sri Ramakrishna's Gospel, you find saying these people, somebody had come. Oh, they are the descendants of Advaita Acharya. We still have them around, descendants that is. So we have descendants of Ramakrishna also. We have descendants of Holy Mother. We have descendants of Swamiji also. So Advaita Acharya, Chaitanya, that is Chaitanya, and Nityananda, his companion. So all the great three teachers of religion were embodied in him, or from another level it can also mean that he was the embodiment of Advaita, undivided consciousness, and eternal bliss. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu. Before we can take any questions, if there are, this coming week we will have Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna by Swami Avikarananda, 7 p.m. Wednesday. Towards the Goal Supreme by Swami Brahmatmananda on Thursday, 7 p.m. Friday, 7 p.m., Self-Knowledge by Swami Satyamayananda. And we have a Karma Yoga Day on Saturday at Tapovan. We had it yesterday here. Thank you for all those who had come. And next Sunday, the talk will be the unique Swami Yogananda. That's because 2 or 3 days before, I think also on Thursday, that is Swami Yogananda's birthday. And Yogananda was Sri Ramakrishna's disciple, one of the earliest disciples. So we'll see his life. Which book you suggested for Chinta Achintya? There is no separate book. I don't know. But there's a Bhagavat Sandarbha. So it is called, and also there is something Sarva Dharma Sangraha, Sarva Darshana Sangraha by Madhvacharya. So you could check these 2 books for Bhagavat Sandarbha by Jiva Goswami and Sarva Darshana Sangraha. Achintya Bheda Bheda, not Chintya Achintya. Achintya, indescribable or inexpressible, difference in non-difference. So this one God has apparent divisions. How it has happened, we do not know. So that this Achintya. Okay, so we take our in-person questions down there together. Om, peace, peace, peace. This evening we have also Ram Nam.